Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to a brand new F1 2020 video. Today we're back with another league race, this time around Mexico. This is the PSGL Championship, of course the Tier 1 on PC.
Yep.
Currently we are P3 in the standings after missing 5 rounds. Last week we finished 3rd around USA, the week before we won around France. So we're looking to maybe snatch the P1 spot away from Barry Burman, as you can see here. So yeah, as you can see, P3 with 67 points, equal with Philip Preitschneider, Josh Ido 2 points behind us, and our teammate Danny Moreno 15 points behind us. So currently 6 points behind championship leader Barry Burman. We'll also miss a few races, but yeah, now let's head into qualifying. First run in Q1. I already did some laps on the intermediates. You can see 24.8, which is like way too far. I think it's like 12 seconds off, 13 seconds off. But yeah, it's just to make sure everything is working on my rig and in game. So now we're gonna do our first run on the softs. We're only planning to do really one run on the softs and not choose or go for a new set in the end, as we're looking to go in the race for a soft, medium, soft strategy, which means I would like to have a new set of softs for the end as well, of course. But of course, if I want to make the strategy work, we have to qualify pretty well. So yeah, now you can see I have quite a bit of fuel. In case I do invalidate, I'm gonna abort that lap and go for another one on this set of tires, as I'm probably gonna use this set of tires just for one run in Q2, but after that I won't use them anymore, as after that they will have quite a bit of mileage on it. Anyway, we're about to start a lap now. 4th gear on the entry, max fuel mode, and then gonna take a wide line until start finish, so I carry a bit more speed. You can see Delta dropping down immediately, of course, as that lap was set on the intermediates. But now heading into turn 1, a very long straight, top speeds of around 335 kph. And braking for turn 1 at 100 meters down to 3rd gear, and going through here. You can see invalidated, so not ideal, but I'm just gonna go again, cool my tires a little bit down, and then push again. As you can see, Flores wires ahead of us, invalidate as well, but let's go again. So as you can see now, lining up for my second push lap on these tires, or well, I didn't really do a full push lap on these tires, but anyway, now the pressure is on because we have to make this lap count, as otherwise we're probably gonna have to use another set of tires, which I really don't want. So I'm gonna take it a bit more safe this time into turn 1, 2, 3, as it's really easy to invalidate in that section of the track, but just in general around the wall track there are a lot of spots you can invalidate. So you can see going pretty wide, taking a bit of the sausage with us this time around, opening the DRS as we head into sector 2. We are gonna be 700s up on, oh my god, it's Joe. We didn't really practice for this, so he's gonna be struggling. I saw he said on Twitter that he didn't practice at all, so he's gonna be struggling a little bit. But we're gonna keep pushing on. Middle sector is where we're pretty strong, usually, middle and last. First sector is a bit of a gamble, of course, how much risk you want to take. You see back end stepping out, as these tires have done basically one lap extra. As we're 3/10 up on, oh my god, Joe going into the last sector. Only 12 people with a valid lap so far. As I said, really easy to invalidate. Now going into the last corner, I took it pretty safe around the wall lap. So it's not going to be an insane time, but it's going to be a 1:12.5, which is enough for P1 at the moment. As you can see here, Nicolas Longway went faster in the end. I think he used 2 sets of tires, but I'm not sure. So yeah, we're one of the, quite a lot actually, only did one lap. Josh only did 1 lap, Alvaro, Barry, and our teammate Danny Moreno as well, of course. So going into Q2 now, you can see currently a 1:12.7, which is enough for P2. Barry did a 1:12.1. Difference is that Barry went straight away on a new set, I think so. I've decided to go on the old set first and then put a new set on for the end of the session. So again, enough fuel to do 2 flying laps basically, because if I invalidate this one and the next one, then I have to start on this very old set from qualifying 1, which is not what we want, of course. So yeah, just looking to make it through, not ask too much from the tires, because these are the tires we're gonna have to start the race on. And yeah, really don't want to put too much stress through them. You can see quite safe through turn 1 and 2. 300-400s up more or less as we go into sector 2. Not gonna be a very good time as it was very safe. You can see already 700s down. Making sure I don't slide at all on these tires, because as I said, don't want to put too much stress through them. Just gonna save them for the race. So now short shift up to 4th, you can see there, and then through the neck left and then down to 5th. Again, quite safe with track limits. Don't want to do or invalidate and then do another lap on those. Opening the DRS for the final time, 2.6 tenths up as I head into the final second. This is where the better tires really help, I would say, as this is a very mechanical section, so having better tires helps a lot through here. And then down to 3rd for the final one, and coming across the line we're gonna go almost 4 tenths up, and it's gonna be a 1:12.3, which is more than enough to get us through. As you can see in the end result there, Josh out of Q2 and Nicolas Longe as well, as they were aiming to start on the mediums. I already decided very early on in the day that I did not want to start in the midfield around Mexico. It's very tricky, usually a lot of incidents in turn 1, 2, 3, as it's very open and then narrows a lot in the first section, in the first few corners. So didn't want to take the risk. Also didn't really feel like it was going to be a huge advantage. But now we're going to start our first lap of qualifying 3, opening the DRS, and as you can see right here, Barry goes to P1 with a 1:12.169. So it's a really good banker. 0.1 banker is pretty good. So going through the first section, you see that was very sloppy. Hit both sausage curbs very wrong. So going into the second sector, we're on a 27.620, which basically around 2 tenths down to what my PB is. My PB is a 0.4, but more importantly, we're already 1 tenth down to Barry. We did the 1:12.1. Going through here, bit wide, backhand stepped out a little bit, which is gonna cost me the rest of the lap. Rears gonna be slightly down from this point on. So going into the final second now, 53.974. At this point, still 1 tenth down on Barry. So maybe we can do something in this final sector. Going into this left-hand hairpin, taking a lot of curb for the right one, making sure the car stays stable. And that last sector was so good. You see, it was very smooth, very high minimum speed through every section. And coming across the line, we're gonna go P2, 100 down to Barry Berman. So it shows we're very competitive in that last sector. I just need to get that first sector together, and then we have a very good chance for pole position. Now it's gonna be the most important run in qualifying 3, as I'm trying to make some space. As Andy was going very slow ahead of me. But anyway, we're gonna start our lap now. Wide entry to start a lap. You can see delta equal to my last lap, the 1:12.1. But we should make up a lot of time in the first section, otherwise we're probably not going to get pole. Going into turn 1 down to 3rd gear, quite late on the brakes, you can see in the delta. This time I get it slightly better, you see no slides, took the sausage curbs a little bit better, and we're 1 tenth up going into the second sector. Exactly equal to Barry Berman's previous lap. And now we're going to have to keep making up time in the second sector. The second sector wasn't ideal as well. So it's gonna be hard probably to beat our last sector, because that was very good, only 5,000 of my PB. So we have to make up the time in the second sector. You can see going through here, we've gained over half tenth, and now this section is all flat, so you just need to keep it smooth. And we're 1.8 tenths up. We're on for a 1:11 at this point. 800s up going into the last sector, down to 4th gear, short shifting 5th, back and stepping out a little bit, which shows we've been pushing in this lap a lot. So rears are dropping off a little bit. You see we lost around half a tenth in that left hand hairpin, as it was very good previously. And then coming across the line, it's gonna be a 1:12.024, which is gonna be enough for pole, as Barry is about to come across the line and not improve, as he tried, I think, 2 push laps on that last set. Yeah, he invalidated, so we had to back off and go again. We didn't do that. We went for just 1 lap, all or nothing, and it paid off, as you can see. Pole position. Even our previous lap would have been enough for P2.
Sure
So
Barry won't have a
even if I did invalidate, it was not the end of the world.
The last part of the race.
As you can see there, basically Barry lost all the time in the last sector compared to us, as we did
Can you guys hear me or no?
2-4.
Can you guys hear me?
Barry did a 3-6 on his last lap, but I did a 2-0 on my banker. So there was definitely 11 in there in that session, but I just didn't really get the sectors together that time around.
I took the first sector a bit too careful.
But anyway, let's head into the race now. Starting on pole position next to Barry Bormand, ahead of Philip Rachinator, By AMD, and Danny Moreno, our teammate in P5. We're gonna need a very, very good start to hold P1 into turn 1, as it's such a long run into turn 1 that it's gonna be hard to keep the lead with the slipstream involved.
Oh, but, why is he joining?
Yeah, we had to restart the lobby as there was an issue before, but this time we do manage to get the lights on. 5 red lights, standard fuel mixture, and away we go. Initially, extremely good start. You can see the gap we pulled to Barry Bormand, and this is what we needed going into turn 1, as Philip Rachinator is going to get a huge stove from us into turn 1, but we should be clear. Going into turn 1, braking at 100 meters, as I said before, front tire is probably a little bit cold, but we managed to stay ahead of everyone. And behind us, people going side by side, and you can see the gap we got by being clear into turn 1, 8.3 gap. And now we have to keep pushing, so we can maybe clear the DRS from Barry Bormand. It's going to be hard, he's extremely fast of course, so it's not going to be easy, but we just have to give it everything we have in the next 3 laps, and then we will make it a lot easier for ourselves the rest of the race if we do manage to get out of the DRS. So I'm gonna give it my everything, use the fuel, extra fuel I put in. I did put in a lot of fuel compared to others, so I can really push in every single stint I have. You can see almost 9.6 tenths going into the final sector. Luckily I have my teammate Danny Moreno in P3, so he can really see in case Barry's light starts flashing if he's running out of ERS. We've got 65%. There's the maximum, of course, you can use in 1 lap. You can see I've used everything allowed.
A lot. He ran out of ERS as well.
You need to push quite hard.
As you can see now, or I can hear from Danny, Barry ran out of ERS at the line, which gave me a mega run onto the straight. And now he's using a lot of ERS again to close the gap within 1 second. But he is, of course, going to be a lot lower on ERS now, as he used it quite inefficiently because he had to use it quite late on in the straight to get within 1 second, and we nailed the first sector, and now the gap is back up to 1.25 seconds, and just after 1 lap, that's just absolutely insane. We're really hitting the nail on the coffin. I think that's an English saying, I'm not sure, but anyway, back to the race. Down to 5th gear through this left-hander, like I did in qualifying as well. And then this section is so hard in the race because tires are not optimal, of course. At the same time, you have a little bit less power, so it's really hard to do it flat out. 1.4 seconds as we go into the last sector, and DRS is about to be enabled, but the first DRS detection zone is gonna be at the end of sector 2, or in the middle of sector 2, so we're gonna be quite clear. You can see almost 1.5 seconds ending the second lap. So purely on pace, we have already gained 6 to 7 tenths in the first 2 laps. Of course, we had a mega run into turn 1 and then a good first few corners. As you can hear, my teammates say Danny Moreno, Barry, his light was flashing, which means he only has 10% DRS. So we are looking very good to keep it out of the DRS from Barry. Well, at this point, we have around 20-30% more than him. So yeah, it's crucial, as I said before. At the same time, we cannot let him undercut at the end of the stint. So we really have to cover that off so he cannot get back into our DRS. So looking probably to take a quite early pit stop so he cannot go for the undercut. And then our teammate can do the exact opposite and stay out a little bit longer and then get a lot better run on the medium so he can get back into P2. Or not back into, as he started P5 of course, but snatch P2 so we can get a 1-2 later on in this race. So now 1.5 seconds, cap didn't really change on the last lap. You can see it's more or less the same, and we're now officially out of DRS, as this is going to be the first time this long straight, that there's going to be DRS. Our teammate, Danny Moreno, is going to get DRS, so he can charge up all the battery and have a go later on in the race. As we now move on to the end of lap 9, you can see Barry 2 seconds behind us at this point. Our teammate Danny Moreno with a full battery still behind Barry, and Flores Wires trailing Danny by 5 seconds behind him. So we're gonna come into the pits now, because this is basically the pit window for the mediums. As I don't want to get undercut by Barry, we want to stay out.
Okay, copy.
So we can stay out of the DRS. Coming into the pits now, we should not get held here, as Barry was 2 seconds behind. Pit stop is 2.6. So yeah, very good pit stop. Quite on the limit, so not really any time loss. As now coming out of the pits, we're gonna come out behind Louis Welch, and oh my god, this show. Louis told me after the race he had damage, so that's why he was quite far back on the softs. I was quite confused, of course. If you're in the softs, you expect him to be ahead of all the medium runners, but well, he had damage. And in the pits, we've gained 3 tenths to Barry, as you can see there. I'm not sure if he got held a little bit or not, but anyway, it's good for us, as we've once again increased the lead a little bit. 1.4 seconds behind Louis now. Tires drop off quite aggressively around here. So
Do what you want.
I think you could go for one more.
yes, my teammate Danny Moreno, as I said before, is doing the opposite to us, going long, and then he has a lot more pace on the mediums before we move on to the softs again in the last stint. You can see we have so much more grip than Louis Welch, who has both a little bit of front wing damage and is on very old softs. We're gonna get DRS, he has DRS as well, which is good, because then we're not gonna get held. We can see he's understeering so much through the right-hander. I was very surprised at the time why he was going so slow, but well, front wing damage plus these very old softs. But he's gonna pull into the pits now as well.
God, he helped me up so much.
Yeah, as you can hear me say, he held me up a lot. We've basically lost around 7 to 8 tenths to Barry. No, more like 5 to 6 tenths. But yeah, we have to get past, oh my god, it's Joe now, because we cannot afford to get held again in that last sector, as we have so much fresher tires. As I understeer a little bit going into turn 1, to really need to nail it here and then open the DRS, so we can have a go at Joe going into the next section. Joe is going to pull to the right. He doesn't want to fight this, as he's on a completely different strategy to us as well, I think. So I think he's aiming to do one stop maybe. As I said, he didn't really practice for this, so he's going to struggle a bit. So he has to do something else, do everything else to everyone else to get some points maybe. But anyway, now next one up is Shizu Julian on the mediums. Started on mediums, both Dario and Julian. Ahead of Dario, I think, is Nicolas Mateo and Nicolas Longway, who are, I think Nicolas Mateo is looking to do a one stop, but Nicolas Longway is aiming to do a 2 stop just like us, but he just started on the mediums. So that's the difference basically. And now on to the end of lap 13, you can see how fast we close the gap to Julian, and we're now 2.9 seconds ahead of Barry, so we increased that gap incredibly fast to Barry. Now we're gonna get DRS again from Dario, which is perfect, because now we can have a shot at overtaking him on the second straight if we get the next section right. Of course, Dario on very old mediums, so he's gonna be struggling on the traction zone here. Coming through here, I didn't really nail it, but doesn't matter. A lot better traction. We're gonna turn on the overtake, so we can get an easy pass into the next section. He's not really battling me too hard as well. As I said, it's probably a bit different strategy. So now next up is Nicolas Mateo, my ex-teammate at S2V from a few years ago. So I used to race with him on F1 2018. Now we're looking to close that gap as soon as possible. And now you can see Danny Moreno, our teammate, only 1.2 seconds behind at the start of lap 24. And well, the reason for that is he of course went 2 laps longer on those softs, and because the softs are such a good tire, basically the tire wear is quite low compared to the pace they have. You can see Danny pulled a 2.3 second gap to Barry. So
I'm in a box now, otherwise I'm at a risk of a puncture.
Copy.
as you can hear me say there, gonna box now because my tire wear is 72%, and well, even though our pace is really good, our teammate on those slightly newer mediums closed, I think, at 3.5 second gap. Oh well, it's down to 9:10, so let's say he gained 2.5 seconds. Even though our pace is really good, because you can see just in the stint we've gained another 1.7 seconds to Barry. So you can see the tire wear indicator quite red, which means we are gonna be at a risk of puncture basically from the time we pit. So coming into the pits, our tire is gonna be around 75%, but the softs are gonna make it from here on, luckily, quite easy. Another 11 laps to go. So coming into the box now, ahead of Barry Burman, who is coming in as well. Luckily we don't get held, which is crucial, of course, because even though me and Danny are teammates, of course, we both want to win. Both still in the driver championship fight. So yeah, helped quite a lot that I didn't get held, and now I've clear air, which is very important as well, of course. So yeah, clear air, so I can close the gap to Nicolas Mateo as fast as possible. The grip is just insane if you go from 75% softs to new softs with 0% tire. You can see just through the first 3 corners we gained almost half a second to Nicolas Mateo, even though he had DRS on that little straight. And Dario ahead of Nicolas Mateo. We still have to make a pit stop. Nicolas Mateo, of course, is not going to make a pit stop anymore, as he's on the hards. He's doing medium to hards. Very different to everyone else. So yeah, GG's to him. Even though there are 11 laps to go, looks like he's gonna get some really solid points here. But he is probably not gonna finish on the podium, with Barry, Nicolas and Danny coming out soon on new softs.
2 seconds.
And of course we want to get a fast lap as well, so what I'm planning to do is...
Okay, 6 seconds in penalties though.
What I'm looking to do is get the DRS from Nicolas Mateo, and then I will get DRS for this main straight and the second straight as well. So in that way I can gain a lot of time by the DRS and go for the fast lap. Use all my ERS in one lap, even though it's a little bit risky, of course, because it's not very efficient to do, and your total race time is going to be slightly slower. I still want to get that 17 points, as I said before, we are in a very tight championship battle after I missed the first 5 races. So we really need to get the maximum points available, both for the Constructors and Drivers Championship. And now going into the next left-hander, we're 1 second behind, and then the DRS detection zone is gonna come up here for this little straight. But I'm gonna stay behind so I can get the DRS on the main straight and overtake Nicolas Mateo there. So that's what I'm gonna do. Down to 4th gear, as our teammate pits 2 laps after us. We're gonna get quite a big undercut, probably. And now we're gonna line up the exit nicely, get some very solid slipstream on this main straight. Nicolas Mateo is not gonna want to battle this. He's not going to as well, as it will just lose himself time. Because my softs are gonna be so much faster, of course, until the end of the race. Slipstream and DRS. We're gonna get completely past going into turn 1. And now it's time to use all of our fuel and ERS available through this lap. You can see a bit of oversteer through here, a bit too aggressive on the wheel, and turning on the overtake button. You see we're using a lot, but going into the second sector we're already 1.1 seconds ahead of Nicolas Mateo. It just shows how fast these softs are. But now back to the lap. We have to concentrate. You can see I'm on 52 brake bias, because I felt slightly more comfortable with it. On 1 lap pace it is slightly worse, of course, but I just felt slightly more confident with it. So now, again, turning on the overtake for this little straight. We're 5.3 seconds ahead of our teammate Danny Moreno and 4.1 seconds ahead of Barry Burman, so we're extending the gap a little bit more here on the softs. I felt personally a little bit more comfortable on the softs than the mediums, so race pace is probably slightly better on the softs. So coming across the line now, it's going to be 1:13.88, which was a second faster than the previous fastest lap. So of course some people might pit and go for it again at the very end, like one of our championship riders, Philip Prager, in case he doesn't get points, he might go for it pitting very late on if he gets wing damage or anything. We're now going to the final lap of the race. Nothing happened in between. You can see our teammate Danny Moreno closed the gap a bit. You can see from my driving as well, I'm basically cruising at this point. I don't want to get any warnings, even though I don't have any warnings. Just don't want to take the risk. Don't want to risk a spin or anything. So I was slowing down a lot in these last 3 laps as I felt like I had the win in the bag. So no point taking a risk as Nicolas Longe got up to P3 ahead of Barry Borman, but Nicolas has the penalty. So it's gonna be 1-2 for Mercedes and also the fastest lap. So maximum points available, as you can hear JD say there.
We still need to wait until everyone is over the finish.
I don't think anyone else did it.
So yeah, as you can hear me say there, we still have to wait until everyone finishes, of course, to make sure we get the fastest lap. But in the end, no one managed to go faster than the fast lap, so we got maximum points available this race, which is absolutely amazing. And with that, we take the lead in the Drivers' Championship, as you can see here. P1 ahead of Barry Borman now by 1 point, so it just shows again that that one extra lap or fastest lap point helps us, and now we're P1 in the championship, quite far ahead of Alvaro Carreton. So it's really gonna be a battle between me and Barry Borman, probably in the final few races. There are 4 races remaining, not next week, this next race, but the week after around Bahrain Short. So gonna be a very tight battle, I think so. Bahrain Short, not my favorite track, but anyway, I don't really like personally the short tracks, but still it's gonna be very, very interesting. As Philip Racing didn't score any points, he is looking to slowly get out of this championship fight. Our teammate Danny Moreno might join if both me and Barry score poor. Alvaro Carreton's still in the fight as well, of course. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this league racing video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and plenty more league racing content coming towards the end of the game, and of course a new game as well. So hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next time. Ciao.